This is that moment of truth. The moment of truth where we wait for the internet to give us permission to have another day. I have to see it or it's fake. If I don't see it, it's not real. YouTube, are you awake? You're awake, YouTube. Good morning. Good morning, YouTube. And I know there's a delay, but I don't have an EP, so I have to see it myself. You know the drill. Rockfin, you're awake too. We've done it. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon to all my East Coasters as I adjust my knee. I just did a little knee adjustment thing. Good morning to all my West Coasters. Good evening to everyone where it's an evening time zone where you're at. And to everyone in the future, Australia, New Zealand, how is the future? You're a day ahead. Solve climate change for the rest of us. Give us the cliff notes on what we need to do, and we'll fix it. Shout out to everyone who makes the show possible. Our friends over at ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. And you can get it wholesale now because of the pandemic. That's ZHITEA.com. Also, our friends over at triageoil.com, TRIAGE oil.com. Trendy name makes topical pain oil for your body. It works wonders. I use it myself. And all of our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left, who, by the way, their theme song was made by yours truly. And if you want your own theme song, patreon.com/Ron Placone. Give what you can level. But Indie Left is the only place to find all the articles and videos from all the content creators and streamers you know and love. They have a platform that they update twice a day. So they curate all kinds of content for you. To find out everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord, they're dancing over at the Discord. You can check them out and at independentleft.media. That's independentleft.media. Without further ado, it's that time of the month, folks. You know it. I know it. Welcome to the show. Last Tuesday of the month. You know her, you love her. She is the co-author of the Yes Queen Chronicles, which you can find over at savageandpat.com. Please welcome Savage Joy. What's up, Joy?
Hello, and this is my rescue Duchess.
Hello, Duchess.
Say hi, Dutchie.
It is always amazing to see you. Lucy is actually going through a hard time right now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's I did not sleep last night at all. And it's I think she's okay, but yesterday she missed a jump and I didn't see it, but I heard it. And yeah, some stuff got knocked over. So I saw her and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she seemed totally herself. Because cats, you know, they don't want you to know that, like, no, I meant to do that. I'm fine. But then last night, first of all, my wife and I noticed that she was not being as active and vocal for her food, which was a little weird. But every now and again that happens. Every now and again, she's just not super like, hey, feed me right now. She's just kind of like, oh, it's dinner time. So we didn't think anything of it right then and there. And then when I got up to feed her, of course, she bounced up and she was all excited. But we noticed she was limping a little bit. And I kind of thought, oh, geez. Yeah, and then she did not sleep on the bed that night. And I think it's because she was not thinking she could make it up there. So she slept. Yeah, but she still left the living room. Usually it's like the way she likes to do it is she leaves the living room on her time. And then she'll, usually when we wake up, she's on one of our pillows. But last night, or this morning rather, when we woke up, she was at the foot of the bed instead of on it, probably because she felt like she couldn't make that jump. Yeah. So, and then this morning, she was a little slower to get up. She was still herself for the most part. I mean, there was a little limp. It wasn't as bad as last night, but it was still there. So, I talked to the vet. They said, look, if you want to bring her in, just make sure, monitor her today, and then we can see her tomorrow morning. So I got the appointment scheduled, and, I'm going to monitor her. If she seems totally back to normal, I might cancel it because it's like, well, if it just kind of heals on its own, why should I stress her out?
Yeah.
But if she's still not quite herself, I want to just make sure, it's nothing serious,
For sure.
So, because, she's not a super young cat. I mean, if she was really young, I might be like, she's going to be fine in a day or two. But she's not a super young cat. So anyway, cat news. I am, I am. And by the way, whenever I'm on the phone with the vet, or the person who answers the phone, the receptionist or whatever, I always apologize after, because I'm always just I always just like, here was the past 24 hours with my cat, and I'm extremely worried, and I know I'm
Yeah.
borderline irrational, and I'm sorry, but I know you
This
deal
is
with people like
this
me
is
all
our
day.
kids.
I know, right?
This is my baby. I've had her 11 years. This is my everything. So yeah, yeah, I call and I'm like, okay, sorry to bother you, but here's what's going on. She looks a little lethargic, but she could just be tired.
Yeah.
Right,
She
Dutchie? Say
farted and
bye,
it was weird.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so that's the Lucy update, and I did not sleep well last night. What are you gonna do? It happens, because I would wake up and then I'd go and I'd look for her. Like, I'd wake
Yeah.
up and I'd panic. At one point, I petted my my pillow, because I do have a black pillow, and it was kind of sticking up a little bit, so it kind of looked like her ears. And I thought it was her, and I was all like, "Oh, you made it!" And then I realized I pet a pillow, and then I started panicking. And then I went to the living room, and I'm thinking, well, she's probably just resting, taking it easy, resting on the chair. She wasn't, so I was like, "Oh no, she went somewhere. Where did she go?" And she was like, she was sleeping right underneath me, because she probably felt like she couldn't get on the bed. So then I panicked because of that, and then I woke my wife up, not on purpose, but my wife woke up. And she's like, look, I think maybe you should take her in, not even just for her, but for you too, if you're going to be so worried, like, what's going on with her. So,
I've definitely done the thing where, like, Duchess will be so asleep that I'll, like, check and be like, is she breathing? Like, it's like a mama thing.
Yeah, I mean, and they can't talk to us. You know,
I know.
they can't.
Well, I
they
mean,
have
my
ways.
Duchess talks to me. Totally. At first we were like, you know, Duchess is we named her, but it's a very royal name. So we're like, she probably sounds like Stewie from Family Guy, where she's like, hello, my name is Duchess Snodgrass. And we had like this whole thing. But then the more we got to know her, the more we realized she's typically way more like, you know, and just like not that bright.
No, Lucy's definitely chatty, and she's a very smart cat, but she can't straight up tell me I'll be fine in a day. She can't tell me that. And even if she could, I don't think she would. I think, like, if she could talk, she'd be like, yeah, I'm totally fine. I'd be like, are you sure though? What if you tore something? What if it could lead to problems with your hips? She'd be like, I ain't going to no vet. And I'm like, we have to do what's best for you, and it might be just to make sure. And she'll be like, well, I better get a lot of treats, because you know how I feel about authority. Not a fan. It's like, all right. So even if this cat could talk, I don't think she'd give me like the straight story. She'd be like, I'm totally fine. Enough. I meant to do the jump that way. No, you didn't. I did. You for sure didn't. Well, I just, why weren't you on the bed last night? I was tired of the bed. The bed is so 1999. No, it was because you're a little wounded right now, and you couldn't make the jump, and you should be able to. So, yeah, we gotta. If you're not back to normal within 24 hours, we gotta take you in. I'm not going in. You have to. I'm not. I'm like, all right, okay. But on the same note, if she is totally fine, like later this afternoon, and it was just like, you know, maybe she just kind of landed weird and she's fine now, I'm not gonna stress her out unnecessarily. I will call and cancel that appointment. So anyway, I was conditional with the receptionist. I was like, well, let's get it on the books to be safe. I might see you tomorrow. We're gonna see what they're like, look, sir, we know you're concerned, and that's great. And so anyway, so that was my morning. So if I seem a little out of it, but there's all kinds of fun stuff to be had that I want to talk to you about. Fun's a weird way to put it. First of all, I guess we should address this. We were both wrong on the Derek Chauvin thing. Right?
And I'm glad.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm beyond thrilled. Which we also both said that. We both said, we're like, I hope we're wrong. I really hope we're wrong. Do you think he's going to get the sentence he deserves?
That's my trepidation. I was so glad that he got the 3 counts. However, the sentencing is going to be what really determines if there's any semblance of justice.
Right.
I don't know. And it may take like literally over a year because they have the right to appeal and all of that. So this was the jury's decision. The sentencing will be the judge. So all I can hope for is that they'll let the family members speak. Sometimes at sentencing, they give them the option to let loved ones speak to explain the severity of the trauma that they've gone through. I hope they allow something like that. And I hope that even if for any other reason, just to set a precedent that you can't do this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope, but I'll tell you one thing. He sure didn't look scared.
He looks surprised.
He did. He did, but he also kind of had this like glazed over look, which could be just because he's a sociopath. I'm not sure, but
yeah, he has the look you would expect from someone who can kneel on someone else for 9 minutes.
Absolutely.
But anyway, what were you saying?
Oh no, I mean, I hope that, like I said, even if it's just to set a precedent, because so often they don't even get, any kind of retribution in the courts. So we're halfway there anyway. Right. So that's good. But I said to everyone celebrating, I'm like, this is a victory, but it is not the victory.
Oh, totally. The systemic rot still exists, and we're not out of the woods yet because he hasn't been sentenced. This is hope for a better tomorrow because, you described it as like, okay, we're halfway there. Usually we don't get halfway there. And it's by design that they don't let us get halfway there. So the fact that the design was different this time, that's some reason for optimism, but we are nowhere close to, out of the woods yet. Not even for this particular case, and certainly not for the systemic rot that still exists. But so here's a fun thing going on in my state, Joy. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Pennsylvania, too. But here's something breaking in Pennsylvania today. It looks like, California today. Switching coasts too fast. It looks like there will be a recall election concerning Governor Gavin Newsom, which, well, let's look into it. So here's something from Cal Matters that unpacks what all this is about. Recalling a California governor explained. So here's what the article says. Governor Gavin Newsom fighting for his political life. He's working to fend off a recall that began as a far-fetched effort by Republican activists. There were more than just Republicans involved with this. That's the verbiage of the article. But anyway, it has turned into a credible campaign that could throw the Democrat out of office. Hard to fathom, blah, blah, blah. All right, so this is just talking about what happened. The recall petition doesn't say a word about the pandemic because it was written before the virus upended normal life, but it gained a surge of signatures after news broke that in November, a maskless Newsom joined lobbyists for a dinner party at the French Laundry restaurant, even though he was telling Californians to mask up and avoid socializing. All right, so this is what happens. How does a recall work anyway? Now, disclaimer here, this is my first time going through this as a Californian. I've only lived in California for 5 years, never witnessed a recall election. So this is my first time, and states are different when it comes to this. So here's what they say. This is I am a recall election virgin. This is presumably, assuming it happens, it'll be my first time. So here's what they say. California is one of 19 states that allow voters to remove state officials before the end of their term. No reason is necessary. The only requirement to put a recall on the ballot is enough voter signatures. That number must be 12% of voters in the last election for the office and must include voters in at least 5 counties. The magic number for Newsom would be 1,495,709. They got more than that. They submitted 1,626,042. So that's enough to qualify for the ballot. So here's what happens next. State officials must complete a few more steps to finalize the process. And here's what happens. An election will be held later this year. It'll likely be held in the fall. And the date depends on the various preliminary steps that are done, but it'll likely be in the fall. And then voters will be asked to question. Here's what voters will see on this ballot of this special recall election. Do they want to recall Gavin Newsom? Yes or no? So, and if more than 50% of voters say yes, who should replace him? So I'm guessing if more than 50 say no, that's it. But if they say yes, who should replace him? This is where things get strange. This, according to the article, there's no limit on the number of candidates who can run to replace an official on a recall ballot. And whoever gets the most votes wins, even without a majority. So it's entirely possible that someone could be elected in a recall while winning less than half the votes. That's what happened in 2003 when then Governor Gray Davis was recalled by 55% of voters. More than 100 people ran to replace him, carving up the votes and allowing action movie star Arnold Schwarzenegger to win with 48.6% support. So this is how Caitlyn Jenner might become the next governor of California. That's basically like this kind of unpacks how it happens. They ask the question, do you want to recall the governor? If more than half the voters say yes, they just have this election where anyone can just kind of jump in the ring and whoever gets the most votes wins. And that's how something like a random celebrity will become governor. And that's kind of how it went down in 2003. And so here's what happens next. And again, this is my first time learning about this, folks. Even though local election officials have said they've counted enough valid signatures to trigger a recall election, there are a lot of bureaucratic steps before an election can take place. Here's a look at how the process, okay. So basically, there's some bureaucratic stuff that has to happen next before the actual election or measure, however you want to put it, happens. So interesting. And California is one of 19 states that does this, which I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't know that's how it worked and how it works in different states. This is all new information to me as a Californian who will presumably be going through this for the first time.
So does Newsom stay in his position in the interim?
I think so, yeah. Because, I mean, they haven't, I would imagine, because they haven't actually voted to recall him. They haven't turned it over to the voters yet. So I'd imagine, yeah, they can't just remove him randomly and then he's just not, like, he's just in limbo. He will be the governor, I'd imagine, until the process is completely over.
So are the Dems going to complain about writing people in again, or is this okay?
That's a great question. I don't know what they're going to do or how they're going to respond. I mean, and it's one of those things. I am no fan of Gavin Newsom, and I would love to see somebody better replace him. But would I want Caitlyn Jenner to replace him? No. Well, why take the risk on somebody worse? I mean, and that's why half the time when it comes to voting, I leave the candidate's part blank, because more often than not, there is absolutely nobody worth voting for. So why would I really want to see something happen where we could get somebody worse than Newsom potentially, or someone just as bad? And like, why deal with an unfamiliar enemy instead of a familiar one? I mean, that's my take on it. If they can get someone better than him, great. But personally, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening.
It's not easy to run a write-in campaign either. So It could be like 100 people running. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, that could be like the Dem primaries all over again. And it's difficult because you have to make sure that everyone knows you're running, first and foremost, especially if they have it so that the ballot has people to choose from, it wouldn't be as bad. But they're going to have people joining and dropping, and I don't see how there could be a consensus if, there'd be so much confusion.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I don't know exactly. I mean, I remember what happened. I mean, I vaguely remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor, and of course, at the time, I was not living in California, so I only paid so much attention to it, and my only memory of it was just a total, kind of just a total circus that just made California look absolutely ridiculous because it was just mostly high profile celebrities who were getting all the publicity as far as potential candidates. So, I mean, and you can see when you have a system like this how something like that can happen. If you have like 100 people just kind of jumping into this thing, well, who's going to rise to the top? The person with the most money, who would be someone like a Caitlyn Jenner or Gavin Newsom himself. If I had to take a guess, I will say this will come down to a Caitlyn Jenner v. Gavin Newsom event, which if it's going to come down to that, just leave Gavin Newsom there. Then why have Caitlyn Jenner take his place? I mean, that's what I think.
If we have a Kardashian in office, like I'm done. Like I'm just freaking done.
Well, hey, if Caitlyn Jenner had better politics, that'd be different. I'd be like, well, let's take a chance on her. But she's a Republican, and so and so is Gavin Newsom. Like
Yeah.
I mean, not in name, but you know what I mean. He's a Republican. I mean, Gavin Newsom is he's the exemplary neoliberal rot. He's the type of guy who he'll talk about how we're going to get off gas powered cars by 2035. And he'll have a great photo op with him holding a charger when he's doing it. And don't get me wrong, that's great. That's a good thing. I want to see that happen. However, he'll do that. Well, in the same breath, he's approving more fracking permits throughout the state. That's who Gavin Newsom is. That's who Gavin Newsom is. But, more often than not, again, it's like I just leave these spots blank because like Eugene Debs says, I'd rather vote for something I want and not get it than vote for something I don't want and get it. So I don't know. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. I mean, if there was some awesome lefty who had a lot of support, who I think, they might be able to take this guy, they might be able to beat Newsom, that'd be totally different. I'd be all for it, but I don't see that happening. I think
Bernie should just move to California and everyone should ride his ass in.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Not gonna happen, but that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's a gal can dream.
It's a tough sell to get people to come to California these days. It's a tough sell to get people to go anywhere these days.
True.
That might change when other countries open their borders, but yeah. As far as like going around the United, except for people going to cheaper places, that is happening. But as far as going to like more expensive places, which California is going to be, that's a tough sell these days. That's a very tough sell. So I don't know. I mean, in some ways, it's like I don't like Gavin Newsom at all. I'm glad people are holding him to account, but hold him to account for real. And if we're just going to get a charade where it's like Caitlyn Jenner or Gavin Newsom, you're just going to see a big old shrug from me because you're just asking me, do you want a familiar enemy or a new one? And it's like, well, I'll just take the familiar one in that case, and that's all too often what I'm deciding between. So,
people should use that leverage. Look, if you want us to vote for you to keep you in here, here's what you need to do.
It's a good point.
It's an opportunity to use that leverage. If he's elected again, you have no leverage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting how it unfolds. And again, I'm still learning about the ins and outs of it. I mean, I don't know all the stuff around it because it's, again, I guess it's only in 19 states and there's a certain process about it. And there's probably a lot of bureaucracy involved that goes on behind closed doors too. So, who knows how this is going to unfold, but they meant the signature threshold, so it's likely to happen. I don't know if it's like 110%, like it's for sure, but it sounds like, yeah, it's going to happen, likely in the fall. So something that's interesting. That's interesting. Although I'll tell you this, and again, I don't, not a fan of Gavin Newsom at all, but man, I wish there was a way to recall LA's mayor. That would be, I mean, he's up for election, but no one right now, I don't know of any decent challengers running against him. If they're out there, please email me because I don't know who you are or where you are. The only person I know running against Eric Garcetti is my council member who's a freaking cop. So again, it's like, and if you're asking me to choose between those two, I'm not going to vote. I'm going to leave it blank. Because if you're at, do you want the familiar enemy or the unfamiliar one? Well, hell, why? I'm not going to pick between those two. I'd rather just have the familiar one because it's something I know. But I'm not going to justify voting for that garbage. So guess we'll just see what happens. And man, what a failed system when those are your choices more often than not. More often than not, it's like, well, do you just want the familiar enemy or do you want a new kind? How about someone who's actually going to do some good in the office? Oh, you're so naive. Stop being a child. Stop asking for a pony.
Mm-hmm. Well, and now we have people who promise to be activists and fight for things and, just moving to the right more and more every day.
Isn't it something? I mean, isn't it like, how do you cope with it? I mean, especially with everything you're going through.
It's infuriating. I've interviewed AOC. I was a scheduled speaker at an event she was a scheduled speaker at as well. We've met. She's been on my show. She looked me in the eye and said, I am being elected as an activist. I will fight tooth and nail for Medicare for all. She said those things directly to me. So did Miss Rashida in person as she held me as I was sobbing, talking about becoming disabled. I've had Ro Khanna on 4 times. He said the same thing to me. So, and don't even get me started on the AOC cult, who every time you even so much as mention her name, you're like, how dare you?
Well, every politician has their stands, and talk about going so blatantly against your own interest. Standing for a politician, you think you should only stand for 2 things: love and a general strike. That's what I say. Standing for a politician, it's like, man, at least stand for like someone who's given you something back. Like I can see if you like stand for a band or something. Like I will not accept that this isn't the greatest album ever because man, it's changed my freaking life. That's one thing. Although even I don't do that. I mean, I acknowledge these days I used to be a little more which the stubborn on my music opinions. I've since realized you sound like a douchebag. Don't do that. And I've evolved from that. I feel like, although if you have bad words to say about the Clash, we are going to disagree. But
yeah, well, it's like thinking the stripper really likes you.
Yes. Shout out to whoever tweeted that first. Somebody tweeted that first and went viral.
I tweeted it, but I just someone sent it to me. I have no idea who came up with it.
Well,
but
it became a meme.
Friends.
It did become a meme. So, once it becomes a meme, people are going to share it, and that's fine. But, I think it's important the author gets credit when they can. And I don't know who tweeted that originally, but well said. They were
definitely right. I think, not just, that I was the disabled spokesperson for Force the Vote, but it's not even just that. It's when you have a PAC that specifically says on your website, we will only donate to candidates who support Medicare for all, Green New Deal, blah, blah, no money in politics, etc., etc. And then you give $5,000 to accumulating to over $150,000, where 83% of the candidates do not support those things.
Right.
That is a direct reflection of absolute lies and people should ask for refunds, to be quite honest. And I had Ava Patsova on my show the other night.
No, she
And
ran in Arizona, right?
she
She
did.
was a
And
grassroots candidate in Arizona. We follow each other on Twitter, but just to refresh people if they're not familiar, that was a grassroots candidate in Arizona.
she
And
got 44% of the vote.
nice. And so what happened with her?
Well, AOC donated to the establishment Republican, essentially, that she ran against, and Ava was thinking about re-entering the race. So she just wrote an article, and we discussed it on my show as well, about how AOC, being presumptuous, she's just going to give to all the Dems because they're going against Republicans. That's actually hurting leftist candidates from entering now. Because not just because she's given money to them, but because that is essentially an endorsement. So now if Ava gets in, this corporate stooge is going to be like, well, I have AOC's endorsement,
Right.
and that's going to hurt progressives. So yeah, there's so many elements of why that is so messed up and so wrong. And, you know, I'm in Pennsylvania. One of the people she gave to was Connor Lamb.
Yes, that guy is pretty much a Trump dude. That guy is like barely not a Trump guy.
He is just absolutely egregious.
Yeah, his views are absolutely terrible. And I went to high school with the guy.
Did you really?
Yeah, I grew up with, I didn't grow up with him. I didn't really know him. I mean, I knew who he was, and he was one of those people. He was just sort of born to do it. Like, he doesn't, and I know people who know him and know him relatively well. He doesn't even have, like, he's basically just a blank suit where it's like, well, just fill me up with what you want to fill me up with. And then the donors freaking fill him up. He's not like, he is like your stereotypical blank suit politician. And that was how he campaigned. He's like, you know, there's all these photo ops where he's taking his family members to church and he's like, I'm a Democrat. I'm for the working man, but I like my guns. And it's like, you know, that's going to work. And the only reason when they used him as an example of why centrism, quote, centrism, I mean, he'd be considered far right anywhere else in the world, but we know this. But why, quote, centrism is the answer. That was such a skewed argument because of the way, the anatomy of his district, the anatomy of that guy's district, at least when he won. I think it might have changed since, actually, to tell you the truth. But the anatomy of his district when he won, it included part of Allegheny County and then part of a couple other rural counties. What's in Allegheny County, you might ask, if you don't know? Pittsburgh, the city. So you had a strong Democratic base who would vote for anyone with a D next to their name. And that is the only place where Connor Lamb got votes. It's not like he was winning over red state America. He wasn't. He only got votes from the other guy is good friends with Donald Trump. This guy isn't. He has a D next to his name. We're going to vote for him. He got basically 0 votes in any of the rural counties. So this whole idea that centrism can win in red state, no, not at all. Unless every single district in the country has the same anatomy of Connor Lamb's, where if you get enough of the city portion, it'll be just enough for you to squeak through with a victory, which was the case for him. That theory is bullshit. And everybody ran with it. Even people who should know better, even people in the YouTube space were running with that bullshit that, oh, we got to run centrism to win. And it's, if you took a second to look at the anatomy of his district, you'd realize why that's bullshit.
Absolutely. And, you know, the irony is Connor Lamb is one of the people who literally is giving back the $5,000 because he doesn't want to be associated with a socialist. So what you have is someone who is totally destroying her cred to give these people money, and they're saying, I don't even want it. I don't like you. Well, and then, you know, one of the things that pisses me off the most is, if you remember, AOC did not endorse Cori Bush or Paula Jean Swearengin. These are two women she did a Medicare for All documentary with. She did not
Cori
endorse
Bush, I
them.
didn't know about. Paula Jean, I did. Paula Jean, I know she didn't endorse Paula Jean, which was, I mean, hey, if people would have gotten behind Paula Jean initially, we wouldn't be dealing with Joe Manchin right now.
You got it.
So,
but yeah, that's dirty. You're going to be in an actual documentary with these two women, and they have a chance, and they are actually progressive. You won't endorse them, but you're going to give $5,000 each to a bunch of shit libs.
you know, and also like looking at it more big picture, like putting aside, the fact that it's so beyond horrible that AOC did this, and just looking at it like just outside, like taking her out of the equation, how insanely bizarre and fucked up is it that we live in a system where a politician has no problem taking money from oil companies, has no problem taking money from big pharma, has no problem taking money from the war industry, but they'll refuse money from their own colleague and think that's some kind of principled stand. And people will buy it. Like, how beyond bizarre is that? Well, this is my colleague who I have some political differences with. I won't accept money from them. But big pharma, big oil, fracking lobby, I'll take any check you want to cut. And we accept this as anywhere close to okay. Again, putting like just taking AOC out of the equation and just looking at it from a principle standpoint of it is still your colleague. You are still in politics with them. They have different principles than you do. They have the principles you're supposed to have, quite frankly, at least in word. And you're refusing their money, but you're fine taking, dirty corporate money. That's so... The fact that this is normal is why. How is this system worth saving? Someone explain to me what's worth saving about. I mean, I forget who was the guy that said it famously in 2004, where he was just like, "I'm looking around at the Democratic Party, and I'm asking, is there anything worth saving?" And it's like, yeah, we all know the answer to that. No, there is nothing worth saving. There is nothing. They don't want to be reformed. They don't want to be reformed. So if they have to spend another $50 million to not be reformed, that's what they'll do. I mean, it's just... And then everyone gets upset if Rose McGowan points that out.
I was just going to say that. That's my girl. I chat with her in PM on Twitter all the time. And I was like, just for those people freaking out about her likening the DNC to a cult, and I added an article because I remember, my mind is a steel trap when it comes to this shit. I remember everything. I added an article
You don't use
of Donna Brashill, who said working with the Clinton campaign was like a cult.
Yeah.
And I put that article underneath everyone freaking out about Rose having the balls to say it. And I'm like, the own, DNC shill legit said it about the Dem candidate herself.
Yeah. I mean, it's remarkable. It really is. And she's 100% right. You look at the Democratic establishment, and when I say establishment, I don't mean just regular people who are just going about their lives and they vote Democrat because they know their other options are Republican. That's not who I'm referring to. Because sometimes you say this to people and they think you're referring to the base. I'm not referring to the base. Whenever I say this stuff, I am never referring to the base. I'm referring to the establishment itself, the DNC and their lackeys. That's who I'm referring to. They have no policy. They stand for absolutely nothing. What's the one thing they stand for? A cult of personality. That's all K-Hive is. They stand for nothing in terms of policy. They stand for, we defend Kamala Harris. Why? Because we like her. Why do you like her? We don't know. But if you don't, you're a sexist, racist, insert whatever here.
Yeah, like, if you look up the definition of a cult, it's like, do these people defend this group every time, regardless, it does not matter what they do or say, they will automatically jump in and defend them tooth and nail. Yes, they do. Do they act like they own it and say, we don't want you, you're not a real Democrat? Yes, they do. Do they behave like a team sport? Like, you won't be accepted unless you fall in line? Yes, they do. That is cult mentality.
And it'd be one thing. I mean, let me put it this way. I could understand playing the company game if it went both ways. You know, if like when members of the squad or whoever else, when they kind of like put their neck out on the party's behalf, it'd be one thing if, well, the party was putting its neck out on the people's behalf and they were changing on behalf of the people. That'd be a different story. But that's not happening. It's a one-way street. And that's the freaking problem. If it wasn't a one-way street, we wouldn't be talking about this the way we do. But it's a one-way street, and that is very, very evident. And you can say, oh, Biden's exceeding expectations. You can, babble on and cherry pick these things to show that, I think the best, and I tweeted this out, I think the best metaphor for the Biden administration that I can think of is when I was in high school one day, there was this kid in class who was having an asthma issue, and the teacher, I think, didn't really know what the hell was going on, and the teacher handed the kid a tissue. That's the best metaphor for the Biden administration. And the kid, what he ended up doing was he mustered up enough breath to call the teacher a dumbass, and then he just walked out of the classroom. And then he walked out of the classroom and got his freaking inhaler. And that's a metaphor for what we need to do. Somehow, as a society, we need to stand up and say, dumbass, and we need to walk and we need to get our freaking inhaler. And that inhaler means solve climate change, end the freaking wars, get everyone health care. Housing's a human right. And we do it with a freaking general strike. The general strike is the inhaler we all freaking need.
Well, I'm sick of looking at hashtags for it. So let's do it. Like, when and where, people.
Do you know how?
No, I'm saying I will set one up for Pennsylvania. I don't care. Like, we need a 50-state strategy. We need to get this shit started.
I know. I mean, people give me shit sometimes because I use the hashtag so much. It's almost like I'm a caricature. But it's like, yeah, but we need it. I don't know how to make it happen on this level. Because look, and all these people who think, well, you just need to read this book that was published in the 1800s and it'll give you all the answers. Like, no, I mean, I appreciate the sentiment and I love, that's all important. And it's great to read theory. I do it as much as I can too. But we're dealing in an unprecedented moment in time where we are in a certain place with technology, where we are in a certain place with a pandemic, where we're in a certain place with, our economy that's been like brought to its knees. I mean, you can't just apply principles that were written in a totally different time and think this is all we have to do. There's more to it than that.
No, I mean, no book is going to tell you what other countries are telling us. Other countries are telling us, you know what? Our prime minister pissed us off, so there's hundreds of thousands of us in the street within 2 hours. That's what other countries do. I posted something the other day with, now I forget where it was, but their elected official was not listening to their concerns, so they literally built a brick wall around him.
That's so badass.
It was so punk rock, and I was like, this is the kind of shit, like, this is other countries. They have balls. They're like, yo, forget it, you're pissing us off, we elected you, listen to us, we're in the streets. I mean, it doesn't take long for just hundreds of thousands of people to be marching in the streets. They are so passionate and so, this is right, this is wrong. If it's wrong, you're going to hear from us. And we tweet. I mean, as a country.
But part of it is societal. There's a lot of societal things at play there too. And I'm not trying to.
It is.
I'm not trying to like give the United States a cop out. I mean, we're all guilty to some extent. I include myself in that. But it's a societal thing that these people in other countries, you know, in France and Germany and Italy, healthcare is not tied to their job. They have a much better social safety net in society. They have all these things that Americans don't have, and that's by design.
And I
So
totally
it's
agree.
easy. Yeah, so they can strike.
However, the difference is for the past year, millions of people have been unemployed.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, that's true.
So,
Well, and we have seen historic levels of societal unrest. I mean, we really have, and that is some reason for optimism. Like we have seen even throughout a pandemic. I mean, if the pandemic wasn't going on, I mean, it would maybe be even bigger. Although, of course, people would also be at work more, so it's hard to say. But we have seen historic levels of societal unrest by U.S. standards. So it's kind of crazy to just even fathom where it'll all go.
absolutely.
But I wanted to bring this up to you as a fellow Pennsylvanian. This guy, who, man, we've heard a lot from over the years, Rick Santorum.
Oh, what a babe.
This is from The Guardian. CNN urged to fire Rick Santorum after racist comments on Native Americans. So here's what he said. He was at he was speaking to a conference that was a bunch of right-wing student groups, I guess. I'm assuming university. Here's what he had to say: that the United States is a colony. It was birthed. We birthed the nation from nothing. That's what he's saying. So there was nothing there. I mean, so then he corrects himself. There was nothing here. This is his quote. There was nothing here. I mean, yes, we have Native Americans, but candidly, there isn't much Native American culture in American culture. Santorum sold the ultra-conservative Young America's Foundation Summit entitled Standing Up for Faith and Freedom. Right. And shared by the group to YouTube. We came here and created a blank slate. We birthed the nation from nothing. What is it like in that guy's freaking head?
This is why people need some damn free education.
I mean, what the hell? So what does that statement even mean? Yeah, we got here and I'm sure the Native Americans were there, but they didn't have McDonald's. So we birthed the nation out of nothing. Like what planet are you on, dude? I mean, they had an entire way of life that, it revolved around just looking out for the community and each other. And they lived in harmony with nature. And, you know, I'm not saying that everything was perfect. Of course it wasn't. But to say this came from nothing? What the hell, dude? How are you that freaking clueless that you would say that into a microphone and not even realize, I mean, putting aside just how bigoted and hateful it is, just how absolutely ridiculous of a sentiment it is. You said it into a microphone, and people put you on the frickin' news on purpose.
Yep. Ew.
Do you remember when he was, I mean, and this is the guy who almost, I mean, remember when he almost called Obama the N-word? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And, you know, again, I'm not a fan of Obama as a politician, but that's not how you, he's just a racist, Rick Santorum. That's something totally different. You know, critiques around Obama should revolve around policy. But, wow. It's amazing that guy is still in the public eye at all. It's absolutely amazing. It's amazing he ever got elected. It's absolutely remarkable he ever got elected.
Yeah, it really is.
Such a disaster on every level. I mean, he didn't even live in the state. He was an absolute disaster. I was so thrilled when he lost, even though he lost to a blank suit. But he still lost nonetheless. And wow, they still let him talk. And he says shit like that. Look, there's no way any functioning human being would actually believe that. He just said it. I mean, why do you think he said it? Was it like a dog whistle of sorts? Was it just pandering? Like what was his agenda? Or do you think he is that clueless?
It sounds like he believed it.
Wow. Rick Santorum.
Which just shows like our educational system is garbage.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And do you remember, is it fair to say that Santorum was one of the original memes? And I don't mean Rick Santorum. I mean when they made that meme redefining Santorum. Do you remember that?
No.
You don't remember that?
What did it say?
Oh, I can't believe you don't remember that. So they redefined Santorum, and what they basically said Santorum is it's the bodily fluids that might result from anal sex. And they did that because he's a huge homophobe. So they did that like that's now referred to as Santorum.
Oh,
OMG. And they spread this, I guess it was a meme, but it was a meme before we had what were called memes. Like we didn't call it, like remember we had memes, but they were just graphic pieces of, like pictorial information. Like we didn't call them anything. Remember that?
Right.
Like they were memes, but we didn't have a name for them yet. They were just like, they were proto memes.
Oh my God. Well, I was in online. I'm newer to social media, but that is hilarious.
I forget what year that came around. I want to say it was like maybe it goes back a minute. I want to say that was like maybe 2006 or so.
I definitely wouldn't have seen it.
So there you go. That was maybe it happened later than that, but yeah, it was a proto meme going after Rick Santorum, who said these horrifically clueless, racist, horrible things. Wow. They still put that guy on. And you know what? Let's make another prediction. CNN's not going to fire him. That's my prediction.
Oh, no way. I would be shocked if they show Biden. Biden says racist shit all the time.
Come on, fat. Do push-ups. Go vote for Trump.
I'm going to challenge you.
You want to do push-ups?
White kids are just as smart as poor kids.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah.
If you don't vote for me, you're not black.
Yeah. Oh, Joe Biden. It's one of those things where it's like we've entered this era where every day you wake up and you're like, how the hell is this person the president? And that's how I felt the majority of my lifetime. I mean, pretty much all my, I felt that way during the Bush years, big time. Then when Obama came in, I had hope, even though he wasn't who I was a Kucinich guy initially. But I got on board with Obama, and when he won, I was like, okay, this guy's going to take us in a better direction. And then I was like, okay, still waiting. All right, second term, he's going to take his gloves off. Oh, he was a Republican all along. He even said so himself. Okay, great. Well, that's something. What do we get? Oh, Trump comes. Okay, great. This guy is somehow, and now Biden. It's like I don't know if we'll ever experience a good president in my lifetime. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
I fear that.
I think the last time we had one was FDR. And he was not without his flaws, don't get me wrong, but he was the last time you could say, well, this guy did some decent things as a president. I think JFK had potential. That was ended. I mean, Carter, maybe on some micro things, but he kind of was like ushering in the kind of neoliberal wave a little bit. I mean, people say like it just came out of nowhere with Reagan.
After.
because of service. Yeah, totally. But in office, he was kind of like, he sort of let the neoliberalism trickle in at a more extensive wave than it had been. And then Reagan really, opened the floodgates.
I mean, I really don't appreciate you kind of hinting that Bush was not a great president. He paints.
Right. We rehabilitated him. Rehabilitated him now.
I mean, Michelle Obama gives him candy, okay?
They're buddies. And their friendship is an example for us all. That, hey, war criminals, let's stick together. Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful.
And it's gonna be so funny when all these people try to justify it and sugarcoat it by saying, "Well, George W. Bush, at least he's a patriot. America, Donald Trump, that guy's just a traitor. He doesn't care, this and that." First of all, what you're saying is just nonsense. But second of all, it's going to be really funny when even this half-baked bullshit doesn't hold up because they rehabilitate Donald Trump. And that's going to happen. That's going to happen. And every shit lib who said this bullshit, they're going to forget these conversations. But Donald Trump will be rehabilitated. I think it could happen as early as 2022, maybe even earlier than that.
Cindy McCain is trending. McCain.
Why is she? Oh, okay. What's she trending for?
Biden put her on his cabinet.
Is this new? Did I not know this?
It was announced like last week, I think.
I missed it. But
I mean, he said his VP would be Republican, so it's not, that shocking. But it's like McCain has always been someone that, we love McCain, and he sure has said some racist shit.
Oh, wow. I missed this, actually. I missed it. I missed the Cindy McCain. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Well, and Meghan McCain,
queen, she's a woman.
And Meghan McCain can talk about it on The View, because we make fun of the royal family over in England. We make fun of that. We make fun of all that. But here we have the Clintons and the Bushes and the McCains and the Bidens. We have that over here. It's man, holy shit. I wish I had something else to add to that. I think that's it. I think our entire system is just covered in Santorum, folks. The whole freaking thing. It is just covered in Santorum. But Joy, what is all going on with you? Where can people find you if they haven't found you already, which they need to find you?
That's kind of creepy. I will not be giving my address or phone number.
Online.
On Twitter, it's at SavageJoyMarie1. My show is Savage Joy, the Unruly Hour. You can find me on Roar Media Live on YouTube, and I also have my own YouTube, Savage Joy Marie Man, with over 300 of my prior shows. So yeah, check. I have a lot of great shows coming up and a lot of great ones I've recently done. I will be emceeing a Medicare for All March in Washington, D.C. in July. You can find the link on my Twitter page. So definitely sign up for that if you'll be in the area. We really want to make it big. So I'm kind of nervous about that. I speak all the time, but emceeing, that should be interesting.
Those are happening all around the country, right?
It is in LA, in Washington State, and in DC. However, they are trying to get some people together to do one in Chicago as well.
Okay.
So it's not till July. So we're hoping, we can get other ones started and stuff. But I was just asked 2 days ago, and I was like, I can never just speak. Like, I'm always like, what do you need help with? I'll reach out to so-and-so. Like, I don't know. It's the organizer in me, I guess. But so I'm looking forward to that. And on that note, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who donated to my GoFundMe and you, Ron, as well. I just had an appointment this morning, and I was able to order 2 of the machines I need to read. So don't cry. So thank you guys so much. It means so much to me. So thank you so much.
That is awesome. And Jason, thank you for the super chat contribution. Jason says, "I vote for Ron Placone, the next California governor. Don't vote. I am not meant to serve in office. I would not be a good politician at all. Because I think to serve in office, you have to have a certain amount of reverence for the system that I just don't have. And I'm not saying that someone who has that is necessarily wrong. We need all kinds of folks to turn the wheels of change. I'm not saying electoralism is 100% bad. I'm just saying it's 100% not for me. Yeah, that's all I got for that. So
people ask me
would
too,
not,
and I'm like, have you heard my mouth? Like, what am I
you
going
get
to
asked
do? Be
that
like,
whenever, yeah.
I'm
No, go ahead.
running against this douche canoe. Look at this twat
Right.
waffle. What the hell's he saying?
Well, you get asked that whenever you talk about politics a lot, you get asked that. I was asked that question once on a freaking comedy panel. And I remember I was so like, my reaction, like a lot of people laughed at my reaction because, and I didn't even mean for it to go down this way. And I actually felt a little bad afterwards because I was worried I hurt the moderator's feelings. But I kind of just had this natural, like, what the fuck? Why did you ask that reaction? And the guy just goes, it was a panel about comedy and like I forget what it was. Anyway, it's not important the details of the panel, but it was a comedy industry related panel that I was on. And the guy just goes, "Well, you talk about a lot of stuff going on in the world, and you talk about, would you ever run for office?" And I was just like, "What does that have to do?" And I just said, like, I just kind of looked at him and I was like, "No, absolutely not. I would never. I mean, you have to have a certain reverence for the system, and I don't have that. I think it's worth mocking because that's what it deserves. And so, no, I would never ever run for office unless, I guess the only exception to that would be if I was formally recruited, because I feel like that's how our system should have happened in the first place. I do think that. I think if you ever say the words, "I want to run for president," and you're over the age of 10, that should bar you from ever being able to run. You shouldn't be able. Like, I want to be president someday. Well, that's because you're a psychopath and you can never do that now. You can't do that ever. You can. I think we should just draft. I think we should just have a people's legislature, and then every 4 years we draft a president, just to make, just for administrative sakes, just so they can sign stuff as a formality. And if you don't want it to be a president, it could just be like a board of sorts. But people are drafted into those positions. It's like getting jury duty, except even worse, because everyone's going to be pissed off at you all the time. And that's how we should pick it. Like, congratulations, George and Richmond, you're the president. I don't want the job. That makes you more qualified than every president we've ever had. See you in DC. Fortunately, Richmond is just a train ride away. We'll see you soon. Like that.
Well, they elected a dog as mayor. I think it was Maine.
I've heard about that, and I love dogs. I love dogs. How could you? I mean, there I have some problems, because how could you ever get mad at the dog? What if the dog did some corrupt shit and you're like, I can't, you just give me those puppy eyes and I can't get mad at you. Like, I just can't, like, what did you let the police do? What did you let them do? But you're an adorable dog. I can't get mad at you.
They probably have vet care for all and like tons of cool stuff.
That I can totally get behind. 100%. Do you have pet insurance? Do you have pet insurance for Duchess?
Yeah.
You do? I don't. Yeah. I just kind of pay as I go.
Well, I shouldn't say it's insurance. It's a place that it's her vet, and you pay $500 a year, and it has all her teeth cleaning, her visits, her testing, her shots, her, like, everything in it.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So
it's awesome. Like, it saves us thousands of dollars.
That's pretty good. I've never heard of something like that. But that's not an insurance plan. It's just like something that the vet does itself.
Right. It's something to, like, encourage people. Hey, I know things happen. You're not going to have the money, so just pay. It's like, it's like $490 a year or something, and her teeth cleaning alone is like $600. So it pays for it.
Those get up there. Yeah, those get up there. Right on. Well, everybody, check Joy out. Go follow her. Check out our show on Roar Media. Roar Media. I meant to say Roar, and it came out Roy.
Ron and Joy, Roy Media.
Ron and Joy, Roy Media. Check out Joy's show on Roar Media. Check out the book at savageandpat.com. And you'll be back the last Tuesday of every month, which is
for that time of the month.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Lucy, she's going to be okay. Yeah, she's going to be okay. She's sleeping right now. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens the rest of the day. I'm worried. You might be able to tell, but I think she's going to be okay. She was more herself this morning. But we're going to make sure. We're going to make sure she heals right, and we're going to do everything to make sure that there's no complications here. But anyway, I think right now I'm just kind of I'm trying to reassure myself. Right?
Yeah.
My wife was like vaguely awake, and she actually said, she's like, maybe you should take her in as much for her as for you. Like, I think it's like you need to know she's okay. But anyway, Lucy is going to be very much cared for. And yeah. So anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow, barring nothing weird or out of the normal. But I will see you all tomorrow. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy says meow, and I'm going to be fine soon. And Duchess says wolf, and Joy says peace, and I say peace. We'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Peace.
See ya. Much love.